I am 92 years old, and I have lived long enough to see the world change in ways I never imagined. But the one thing that has never changed, the one thing that has kept me alive and strong all these years, sits right where it always has been, in my memory of my grandmother's garden. Nostalgic. And today I want to share with you the most precious gift she ever gave me. Not money, not property, but something far more valuable. 7 plants that she knew could heal almost anything. Plants that the world has forgotten, but that your body remembers. Pause. When I was 7 years old, my grandmother took my hand and walked me into her garden on a warm summer morning. I remember the smell of the earth, the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves, and how her old, weathered hands moved across the plants like she was greeting old friends. She turned to me and said something I have never forgotten. "Child, before there were doctors in white coats, before there were pills and prescriptions, there were these, and they saved our people. They saved our families. And if you remember nothing else from me when I am gone, remember these plants. They will save you too." I was just a boy then. I did not understand the weight of what she was telling me. But as the decades passed, as I grew older and life threw everything at me, illness, pain, loss, exhaustion, those words came back to me like a compass pointing home. And every single time I needed healing, every single time I thought I could not go on, one of those 7 plants that my grandmother showed me was waiting. Let me tell you about the first one because it changed my life when I needed it most. When I was 35 years old, I suffered from a condition that made my stomach burn every single day. The doctors gave me pills, and the pills worked for a little while, but then they stopped. They gave me different pills, stronger pills, and soon I was taking more medicine than I could count. My wife was worried I was losing weight. I could not enjoy meals with my family anymore. Then one night I remembered something my grandmother had shown me when I was a boy. She called it the golden plant. Today we call it turmeric. My grandmother grew turmeric in a special corner of her garden, and she would harvest the roots and dry them carefully. She told me that this plant had been used for thousands of years in her mother's country, and that it could calm the fire inside the belly. She was right. When I started drinking warm milk with turmeric every single morning, something miraculous happened. Not overnight, not like the strong medicine, but slowly, day by day, the burning stopped. The pain disappeared. My body began to heal itself. The doctors were shocked. They could not explain it, but I knew. I knew because my grandmother had shown me that our bodies do not want to be filled with chemicals. Our bodies want to be helped with nature. The second plant my grandmother taught me about was ginger. Now, ginger is everywhere today. You see it in stores, in supplements, in teas. But my grandmother knew something about ginger that most people have forgotten. She did not just use it when someone was sick. She used it every single day, in small amounts as a medicine to keep sickness away. She would steep fresh ginger root in hot water with a little honey and drink it every morning. When she was 89 years old, she could still walk faster than most people half her age. She had energy that made no sense for someone so old. And when I asked her the secret, she smiled and said, "Child, I never wait for the sickness to come. I invite the health in every morning." I have done the same thing for 57 years now. Every single morning, without fail, I make my ginger drink. And you know what? I have never had a single operation, never spent a night in a hospital bed, never been kept awake by pain at night. This is not a coincidence. This is what happens when you listen to the old wisdom. The third plant is one that grew wild all around my grandmother's property. Everyone else treated it like a weed and pulled it out. But my grandmother loved it. She loved it because she understood its power. This plant is aloe vera. I remember being a boy of 10 years old, and I fell while playing and scraped my entire leg on a stone. The wound was deep and bleeding. I was crying, and my mother wanted to take me to the doctor in town, which was an hour away. But my grandmother said, "No need." She cut a piece of fresh aloe from her garden, squeezed the clear gel directly onto my wound, and wrapped it gently with cloth. She told me, "This plant knows how to heal. It has been healing skin since before humans even knew we could get hurt." Within 2 weeks, the scar was almost invisible. Within 4 weeks, you could not tell anything had ever happened. My mother was shocked. The doctor would have given me stitches. But the aloe? The aloe knew exactly what to do. I have used aloe for every burn, every cut, every wound that life has given me. And now, at my age, my skin is in better condition than people I know who are 30 years younger. I am not telling you to avoid doctors when you have a serious injury. But I am telling you that your grandmother's wisdom knew something about healing that we have forgotten. Aloe does not just heal the skin on the outside, it heals something deeper. It reminds your body that it knows how to fix itself. The fourth plant might surprise you because it is so simple, so common, that most people do not even notice it. This is the rosemary plant. My grandmother grew it in a big clay pot right by her kitchen door. She would brush her hand across it every time she walked past, and the smell would fill her fingers with the memory of healing. My grandmother used rosemary for something that no one talks about much anymore. She used it for memory and clarity. She would steep the leaves in hot water and drink it when she needed to think clearly, when she needed to remember things, when the fog of age started to creep in. And here is something extraordinary. It worked. I am 92 years old right now. My mind is clear. I can remember things from 70 years ago with crystal clarity. I can remember my grandmother's face. I can remember the sound of her voice. I can remember exactly how her garden smelled on different seasons. Most people my age are struggling to remember what they had for breakfast. But I remember my entire life like it is a film I can still watch. I started using rosemary tea when I was in my 50s, and I truly believe it has kept my mind sharp through all these years. You do not have to wait until you are old to start. If you drink rosemary tea while you are young, while you are still building your memories, your mind will stay strong your entire life. This is not magic. This is science. But it is old science. It is the science that your grandmother's grandmother knew. The fifth plant is something that most of you probably know but have never really thought about. This is the lemon tree. My grandmother had 3 lemon trees in her garden, and she treated them like they were members of the family. She would water them, talk to them, and harvest their fruit with such care that you would think she was handling precious gold. She used lemon for something that connects to everything. She used it for cleaning, not just the fruit, but the whole plant. The juice of the lemon, the oil from the skin, the leaves, everything. She understood that so much of what makes us sick comes from the things we put inside our bodies that do not belong there. Toxins, chemicals, poisons hiding in our food. I remember her saying to me, "A body that is clean from the inside can fight anything." So she would start every day with warm water and fresh lemon juice, not cold water with ice like so many people do now. Warm water. Because warm water, she said, wakes up your system and prepares it to clean itself. She would drink this and then eat nothing for an hour. Just let her body wake up slowly. And that one simple habit, I have done it every single day for 60 years now. I believe it is why I have never had cancer, never had diabetes, never had the diseases that take so many of my friends. The lemon also has something special in it that most people do not know. It alkalizes your body. When your body is too acidic, that is when disease takes root. But when your body is alkaline, when it is balanced, your body knows how to defend itself. My grandmother did not know the word alkaline. She just knew that the lemon kept her well. But now I understand why. The sixth plant my grandmother showed me was something I at first did not appreciate. It was ginseng. She grew it in a special shaded corner of her garden, and she would only harvest it once a year with great ceremony and respect. She said the ginseng was a gift from the earth, and that you could not just take it whenever you wanted. You had to ask permission. You had to approach it with gratitude. I was young and foolish then, and I thought my grandmother was being superstitious. But as I grew older and I studied more, I realized she was not being superstitious at all. She was being wise. She understood that ginseng is one of the most powerful plants on earth. It can give you energy without making you nervous. It can help you think better without making you jittery. It can support your body through stress and pain, but it is powerful. It is not a toy. It is medicine in the truest sense. When I was facing a very difficult time in my life, when my business failed, when I lost money, when I thought I could not go on, my grandmother gave me a small container of ginseng root. She told me to take small pieces of it, to chew on them slowly, to let them sit under my tongue. She said, "This will remind your body that it is strong, that it can endure, that it has survived everything so far." And she was right. That ginseng, taken slowly and respectfully, got me through that dark time. It gave me back my strength when I thought I had lost it forever. Many people today are always tired, always exhausted. They drink coffee after coffee, energy drink after energy drink, and still they feel like they are walking through mud. I have so much energy at 92 years old because I have treated my body like my grandmother taught me. And ginseng, taken respectfully and not overused, is one of the pillars of that. The seventh and final plant my grandmother showed me is in some ways the most powerful. It is also the most dangerous if you do not understand it properly. This plant is eucalyptus. My grandmother did not use eucalyptus by putting it inside her body. She was too wise for that. She used it in a different way. She would boil the leaves in water and breathe in the steam, or she would crush the leaves and smell them when she needed to clear her mind and her lungs. She taught me that the lungs are the seat of the breath, and the breath is the seat of life. If your lungs are not clear, if your breath is not strong, then no matter how healthy everything else is, you will not truly be well. I have lived through many years of working in difficult conditions, years when the air was not clean, years when I had respiratory troubles. But because I knew about eucalyptus, I was able to help myself. A simple steam treatment with eucalyptus leaves done 2 or 3 times a week, and my lungs would clear. I would breathe better, I would sleep better, I would have more energy. And this plant taught me something deeper. It taught me that healing is not always about putting something inside you. Sometimes it is about opening yourself up to what is already there. The eucalyptus helped my lungs remember how to be clear. It did not create clarity. It reminded my body of clarity. And that, I think, is what all of these plants do. They do not create health. They remind your body that it already knows how to be healthy. They wake up the healing power that is already inside you. Now let me tell you how to use these plants. My grandmother taught me that the way you use a plant is just as important as the plant itself. First, you must approach these plants with respect. You cannot just grab them whenever you want and expect results. You need to think about what you are doing. You need to set an intention. You need to be present. When I make my morning ginger tea, I do not just throw it in a cup. I take 5 minutes. I heat the water slowly. I watch it. I think about what I am doing. I am not just making a drink. I am making a medicine. I am committing to my own health. This intention, this mindfulness, is part of what makes it work. Second, you must use these plants consistently. You do not take something once and expect a miracle. My grandmother took ginger and turmeric every single day for 60 years. That is consistency. That is commitment. If you want these plants to work for you, you have to be willing to make them part of your daily life, not when you are sick, every single day. That is the secret. Third, you must use the best quality you can find. My grandmother grew her own plants in her own soil. The soil was rich and alive. She never used chemicals. She treated her garden like a living thing. And the plants she grew were stronger than anything you could buy, but I understand that not everyone can grow their own garden, so find the best quality you can. Find organic sources. Find people who are growing these plants with the same love that my grandmother did. Fourth, and this is important, do not stop seeing doctors. I am not saying that these plants replace modern medicine. What I am saying is that these plants are part of a partnership with your body. They support your body's own healing power. But if you have a serious injury or a serious illness, you need to see a doctor. I have lived this long not by avoiding doctors, but by not needing them very often because I took care of my health with these plants. Now I want to tell you why I am sharing this with you. Why, at 92 years old, I am speaking into a camera and opening up all of this knowledge. My grandmother died at 98 years old. She died peacefully in her sleep after a full and healthy life. One of the last things she said to me was, "Make sure this does not die with us. Make sure someone remembers. Make sure someone keeps this alive." For a long time, I kept this knowledge to myself. I used it to stay healthy. I lived a long life because of it. But I realize now that my grandmother did not mean for me to keep it to myself. She meant for me to pass it on. I look around the world now, and I see so much suffering that could be prevented. I see people young and old struggling with illnesses that my grandmother would have known how to help with. I see knowledge being lost. I see people forgetting that their body is not separate from nature, that we are part of nature, that we come from the earth, and the earth knows how to heal us. The world is changing so fast. In another generation, there will be very few people left who remember these things. Very few people who know these plants the way my grandmother did. And that saddens me deeply, because this knowledge is power. Not the power to control others, but the power to take care of yourself, the power to stay healthy and strong, the power to not depend on systems that do not always have your best interest at heart. But there is hope. There is hope because you are here, because you are listening, because you are curious enough to hear what an old person has to say. And if you take even one of these plants, if you make even one of them part of your daily life, then my grandmother's knowledge lives on. Then her wisdom does not die. Then something that was almost lost is found again. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a world where children grow up knowing these plants. Imagine a world where a grandmother teaches her grandchild not just about computers and technology, but about healing and health. Imagine a world where people take care of their bodies not out of fear of disease, but out of love for life, out of respect for the miracle that their body is. Imagine that. That world is possible. It starts with you. It starts with one person deciding, "I am going to learn about these plants. I am going to grow them or find them. I am going to use them. I am going to teach my family." And then it grows, and the knowledge spreads, and something that was almost lost is found again. I will not be here forever. None of us will be. But what we know, what we have learned, what we have lived through, that can live forever, if we share it, if we pass it on, if we care enough to make the effort. This is what my grandmother gave me. Not just 7 plants, but a responsibility. A responsibility to keep her wisdom alive. And I am passing that responsibility to you now. I ask you to do something for me, something for my grandmother, something for yourself. I ask you to subscribe to this channel, not just to watch videos about old wisdom, but to make a commitment to yourself. To say, "I am going to learn, I am going to remember. I am going to take care of my health the way my ancestors did. And I am going to teach someone else." Because that is how knowledge survives. Not in books that nobody reads, not in videos that sit on the internet, but in the hearts and hands and gardens of people who care. People like you, people like my grandmother, people who understand that the most important thing we can pass down to the next generation is not money or stuff, but wisdom. Real, practical, life-saving wisdom. So please subscribe. And not just to this channel. Subscribe to the idea that you are stronger than you think, that your body is smarter than you know, that the earth has been taking care of humans for thousands of years, and it still knows how to. If you are willing to listen, if you are willing to learn, if you are willing to remember. My grandmother is watching. I believe that. I believe that the people we love who have left us are still connected to us, still proud of us when we do the right thing, still hoping that we will remember what they taught us. So when you plant a seed of ginger, when you drink your turmeric milk, when you sit in eucalyptus steam and feel your lungs open, you are honoring her. You are keeping her alive. You are saying, "Yes, I remember. Yes, I will carry this forward." And that, my friends, is the greatest thing any of us can do. Thank you for listening to an old person's stories. Thank you for caring enough to hear what I have to say. And please, please subscribe. Keep this wisdom alive. The world needs you too. And so does everyone who will come after us.